My friends, if you want money to find you, you must learn the language it listens to. Money does not respond to stress. Money does not respond to fear. Money does not respond to the sound of I can't, I don't, I wish. Money responds to clarity, to confidence, and to a mind that knows exactly what it desires. You see, the universe is not confused. It is exact. It listens to the thoughts you repeat, not the wishes you whisper. If you think lack, you attract lack. If you think abundance, abundance begins searching for you, like a river searching for the sea. Every thought you hold is a command. Every word you speak is an instruction. Every belief you repeat becomes a blueprint that money must obey. So I ask you today, what commands are you sending out? Are you sending out thoughts like, money is hard, life is unfair, nothing works for me? Or are you sending out the powerful declaration, money comes to me with ease, and I welcome it boldly? Your life bends to the strength of your inner conversation. You cannot speak poverty and expect prosperity. You cannot live in fear and expect miracles. But the very moment you change your inner story, everything outside must rearrange itself. Money does not arrive because you chase it. Money arrives because you become a magnet for it. How does a magnet work? It doesn't run around searching. It simply holds its force, and everything that matches that force comes toward it. So ask yourself, am I holding the force of prosperity or the vibration of fear? Fear is a thief. Fear blinds the mind. Fear shuts the doors that were meant for you. But faith opens them wide. Faith says, I do not know how the blessing will come, but I know that it will. And when you hold that steady, unshakable certainty, the universe begins to move things on your behalf, people, ideas, events, opportunities, all rearranging themselves like a divine puzzle clicking into place. Your role is not to chase. Your role is not to doubt. Your role is not to struggle. Your role is to think in alignment with your highest possibility. Picture what you desire. Speak as if it already exists. Walk as if it is already yours. Bless what you have. Bless what is coming. Bless the abundance that is seeking your door. Money is not running from you. It is waiting for you to think in a way that reveals the path. When you think clearly, money finds you. When you think richly, money recognizes you. When you think boldly, money obeys you. So today, step into the mindset that commands wealth, not the mindset that fears it. Say it out loud. I am ready, I am open, and I am aligned with abundance. Let this become your new way of thinking, your new way of living, your new way of receiving. Because when your mind rises, your life rises. Your opportunities rise, your money rises, and prosperity, unstoppable, undeniable prosperity becomes not just possible, but inevitable. Every thought you think sends out a signal, and that signal is far more powerful than most people ever realize. The average person believes money is only influenced by hard work, effort, or opportunity. But money is far more sensitive than that. Money responds first to the tone of your inner world. If that inner world is filled with worry, doubt, fear, or a constant sense of not enough, then the vibration you broadcast pushes money away the same way. Identical sides of a magnet repel each other. You can work from sunrise to midnight, but if your energy is sending out a message of lack, the universe must mirror it back to you, because spiritual law never contradicts the tone of your thoughts. On the other hand, when your mind radiates confidence, expectancy, abundance, and clarity, money begins to move toward you in ways that seem almost uncanny. Suddenly, people recommend you. Opportunities show up. Ideas arrive with more force. Solutions appear. Things that were stuck begin to loosen, because money, like everything else in the universe, follows the path of least resistance, and the greatest resistance is the noise of the fearful mind. Thoughts are not harmless. Thoughts are instructions. When you think, I can't afford this, you are not describing your situation. You are commanding the universe to keep you in that situation. When you think, money never stays with me, you are not complaining. You are defining the blueprint that your future must follow. And when you say things like, life is hard, I always struggle, Money avoids me. You are giving life to the very experiences you wish to escape. This is why changing circumstances begins with changing consciousness. Nothing shifts on the outside until it first shifts on the inside. You must stop speaking as if your bank account is your master and start thinking as if your mind is the architect that shapes it. Poverty does not begin with a lack of money. It begins with a lack of belief. It begins with the habit of rehearsing old fears, old stories, and old patterns that keep recreating the same limitations. Many people are trapped not by their circumstances, but by the thoughts they consistently send out into the world. They do not realize that every prayer, every affirmation, every complaint, every assumption, and every expectation becomes an invisible wire connecting them to their future. They hope for prosperity while preparing for struggle. They dream of abundance while rehearsing fear. They want money, but they think thoughts that contradict their desire. The mind becomes like a house divided against itself, half believing, half doubting, and money does not enter a divided house easily. Money seeks clarity, and clarity comes from holding one strong, unwavering belief. I am connected to abundance, and abundance is connected to me. Consider how a magnet works. It does not chase, it does not beg, it does not strain. It simply holds its natural force, and anything aligned with that force is drawn toward it without effort. A magnet with a pure, undisturbed field pulls objects toward it. A magnet that has been demagnetized by conflicting forces becomes weak and ineffective. Your mind works exactly the same way. When you hold steady thoughts of prosperity, gratitude, confidence, and possibility, your energy becomes magnetic. It pulls opportunities, ideas, resources, and favorable encounters into your life. But when your mind is filled with fear, frustration, resentment, or doubt, your magnetism weakens. You cannot attract what you consistently fear. You cannot pull in what you constantly push away with your inner dialogue. This is why the first work of prosperity is not hustle, it is inner alignment. It is training your mind to think in harmony with the abundance you desire. It is learning to monitor your thoughts the way a gardener guards the soil, removing weeds of doubt before they multiply. It is choosing thoughts that build instead of thoughts that destroy. If you want money to find you, you must think thoughts that welcome it. You must say things like, money comes to me in expected and unexpected ways. Opportunities find me with ease. I am worthy of prosperity. Every day, I become more aligned with abundance. When you speak this way, the universe rearranges itself to match your expectation. You begin to move differently, your decisions improve, your intuition sharpens, your awareness heightens, you notice chances you previously ignored. You feel guided, supported, and connected to something larger than yourself. This shift is not about pretending. It is not about lying to yourself. It is about understanding that thoughts are seeds and your life is the harvest. When you plant seeds of fear, you reap obstacles. When you plant seeds of confidence, you reap breakthroughs. When you plant seeds of gratitude, you reap expansion. Imagine a person who walks through the world thinking, everything works against me, people don't support me, money is difficult. Life is unfair. These statements become the lens through which they see everything. Even when opportunities come, they overlook them. Even when doors open, they hesitate. Even when help appears, they distrust it. Their thoughts have shaped their reality so strongly that they cannot see beyond the walls they have built in their mind. Now imagine a person who holds a different belief. One that says, life supports me, money flows toward me, good things find me, everything I need arrives at the perfect time. This person moves through the world with a different energy. They see potential where others see barriers. They act boldly where others act fearfully. They trust their intuition. They expect growth. They walk into rooms expecting to be blessed. And because their expectation is aligned with abundance, abundance has a pathway to reach them. Their energy becomes a beacon, and money responds to that beacon the way ships respond to a lighthouse. Thinking richly is a discipline, not an accident. You must train your mind the same way a musician trains their ear or an athlete trains their body. You must learn to redirect your thoughts when they drift toward fear. You must learn to dismiss inner conversations that sabotage your progress. You must become aware of your mental patterns, because awareness is the first step toward transformation. Once you become aware of your thoughts, you can choose new ones. Thoughts that lift you instead of limiting you. Thoughts that empower you instead of imprisoning you. Money is not just currency, it is energy, and energy responds to energy. A generous mind attracts generosity. A confident mind attracts opportunity. A grateful mind attracts abundance. A fearful mind attracts struggle. When you understand this, you stop trying to change the world and start changing the one place where every transformation begins, your inner state. Money is not the goal, alignment is. When your thoughts align with abundance, money becomes simply a reflection of that alignment. When your thoughts align with fear, money becomes a reflection of that fear. And the moment you shift your thinking, the moment you choose a new mental atmosphere, the moment you release old stories and step into new ones, you begin creating a life where money finds you naturally, effortlessly, and consistently. The power has always been in your mind, waiting for you to use it. Words are not empty sounds. Words are forces, alive, active, creative. Every time you speak, you set something in motion, something that begins shaping your experience even before you see the results. People often underestimate the power of their own tongue, scattering words carelessly, not realizing they are planting seeds in the garden of their future. What you speak consistently becomes your atmosphere, your energy field, your unseen world. And that unseen world eventually becomes your reality. You cannot speak defeat and attract victory. You cannot speak limitation and receive abundance. You cannot speak fear and expect money to show up boldly at your door. Words are a form of spiritual law, and spiritual law is precise. It listens to tone, it listens to pattern, it listens to repetition. When someone says, "I'm always broke," the universe hears that as instruction. When someone says, "Money slips away from me," the subconscious takes this as a command. When someone says, "Nothing works out for me," their energy adjusts itself to match the statement. This is why complaining is so destructive. Each complaint is a declaration of lack. Each fear spoken aloud becomes an order. Each sentence born from frustration becomes a kind of prophecy that fulfills itself. People unknowingly curse their own progress by the way they describe themselves, their finances, and their future. But words can also break curses. They can build roads where there were none. They can call things from the invisible into the visible. They can rearrange conditions, shift circumstances, open doors, and summon opportunities from places you could never predict. When you speak prosperity with conviction, you create a vibration that money cannot resist. When you speak gratitude, you invite increase. When you speak confidence, you amplify your value in the eyes of the world. When you speak faith, you activate forces that begin moving on your behalf long before you can see the evidence. There is nothing accidental about the connection between your words and your financial life. Words shape energy. Energy shapes actions. Actions shape outcomes. If a person wakes up and says, "Today is going to be difficult," they have already prepared their mind to interpret every challenge as confirmation of that statement. But if someone wakes up and says, "Today is full of opportunities," their mind begins scanning the world for confirmation of possibility. What you speak becomes what you search for, and what you search for becomes what you find. Think about the difference between saying, "I can't afford this," and saying, "How can I afford this?" The first statement closes the mind, the second opens it. The first is a wall, the second is a doorway. Words decide whether you are constructing barriers or pathways. When you say, "I never have enough money," you shrink your creative power. But when you say, "Money comes to me in expected and unexpected ways," you expand your energy, you expand your vision, and you expand the space in which abundance can arrive. The universe does not argue with you, it agrees with you. If you declare lack, it agrees. If you declare abundance, it agrees. Your word is your wand, not because of magic tricks, but because your subconscious is always listening, always recording, always shaping your beliefs around what you repeat. Once the belief is shaped, your behavior changes automatically. You think differently, you act differently, you notice different things, you feel guided differently, you respond differently. And because of these shifts, your financial reality adjusts to match the new mental frequency you are living in. Words carry emotion, and emotion amplifies energy. When you speak fearfully, your words are coated with panic, and panic blocks intuition. When you speak from anger, your words block clarity. When you speak from insecurity, your words dim your inner light. But when you speak with faith, genuine, confident faith, your words carry a power that reshapes your atmosphere instantly. Faith-filled words open channels of creativity and inspire bold action. They make your presence stronger. They give you the courage to take risks, the clarity to make decisions, and the confidence to recognize opportunities that others overlook. Some people think positive speech means pretending. It does not. Positive speech means aligning your words with the future you are creating, not the fear you are escaping. You are not lying when you say, "I am abundant." You are initiating abundance. You are not lying when you say, "Money flows to me." You are giving permission for money to move toward you. You are not lying when you say, "Everything is working in my favor." You are stepping into a mindset that invites favorable outcomes. The truth is that life responds to the authority of your voice. When you speak intentionally, you become the architect of your circumstances. When you speak carelessly, you become a victim of your own verbal habits. This is why it is so important to guard your tongue, to bless your finances instead of criticizing them, to bless your opportunities instead of doubting them, to bless your future instead of fearing it. Words bless or they block. There is no neutral speech. Imagine a person saying, "I'll never be able to pay off this debt." They are not describing reality. They are reinforcing it. Now imagine them saying, "I am thankful this debt is clearing out of my life." Nothing may have changed physically yet, but mentally and spiritually they have shifted from a posture of defeat to a posture of expectation. Expectation is powerful. It changes energy. It changes behavior. It changes decisions. Eventually, it changes the physical world. Your words are always calling something forth. When you declare, "I am open to abundance," you are calling forth opportunity. When you declare, "Money comes to me naturally," you call forth ease. When you declare, "Doors open for me," you call forth favor. And when you declare these things consistently, with emotion, sincerity, and repetition, something in the universe begins aligning with your voice. Something begins preparing the way, adjusting the pieces, rearranging the circumstances, guiding the timing. You feel it, you sense it, you know it is happening even before the evidence appears. Money is sensitive to language. Fear-based speech creates resistance. Prosperity-based speech creates flow. If you want money to feel welcomed in your life, your words must open the door. Bless your wallet, bless your work, bless your business. Bless your ideas, bless your future. Speak life into your finances until the energy around you is so strong, so aligned, and so clear that money has no choice but to move toward you. Words are not decoration, they are direction. And once you understand this, every sentence becomes a step toward the abundance that is already seeking you. Imagination is not a child's game, nor is it a frivolous escape from reality. Imagination is the blueprint room of your destiny. It is the workshop where every future event is shaped long before it appears in your physical world. Most people treat imagination as fantasy, but it is far more than that. Imagination is the architect of experience. Nothing you have, nothing you want, nothing you dream of can enter your life unless you first build it in the unseen realm of thought. If you want more money, you must learn to imagine more clearly, more boldly, more confidently than you ever have before. Every great achievement begins as an image in someone's mind. The house you live in began as a drawing. The phone you hold began as an idea. The job you have, the business you want, the lifestyle you desire, the wealth you seek. Each one begins as a picture formed in the inner world. When you understand this, you stop asking, "Why don't I have money?" And you start asking, "What image am I holding?" Because you cannot possess what you cannot picture. You cannot receive what you cannot see. You cannot walk into a future you have not already visited in your mind. Imagination is not wishful thinking, it is spiritual seeing. It is the ability to preview your blessing before it arrives. When you create a picture of abundance, you are sending a message to the universe. This is the direction I am moving in. Prepare the way. And the universe responds. Opportunities that were previously invisible begin to show themselves. People who can help begin to appear in your path. Ideas arrive with force and clarity. The mind sharpens, the spirit strengthens. Everything begins to shift when the picture inside of you shifts. But when a person imagines fear, lack, chaos, or loss, they send out an entirely different signal. Their imagination becomes a factory producing the very experiences they dread. They rehearse poverty in their mind until poverty takes shape around them. They picture failure so vividly that they begin walking toward it. Imagination is neutral. It builds whatever you feed it. Feed it fear, it builds fear. Feed it confidence, it builds confidence. Feed it wealth, it builds wealth. You cannot escape the images you continually entertain, because the subconscious treats imagination as instruction. It begins adjusting your behavior, your attitude, your energy, and even your body language to match the picture you are holding. If someone imagines themselves as trapped, unlucky, or unworthy, they carry that vibration everywhere. They hesitate to take risks. They turn away from opportunities. They believe that abundance is for others, not for them. They walk through life blind to the blessings all around them because the inner picture does not match the outer possibility. But if someone imagines wealth, confidence, and success with clarity and feeling, their energy changes. They speak differently. They walk differently. They think differently. They begin to feel deserving of good things, and that feeling attracts circumstances that validate it. Imagination is the rehearsal space for manifestation. When you close your eyes and picture yourself living the life you desire, you ignite emotions that act as a magnet for the physical equivalent of your vision. The subconscious does not know the difference between a vividly imagined event and a real one. It begins operating as if the imagined scenario is already true. If you imagine yourself financially free, your subconscious begins aligning your beliefs, actions, and perceptions with someone who is financially free. You make better decisions. You attract better experiences. You recognize opportunities with lightning speed. Imagination trains your mind to see what is possible instead of what is missing. Many people sabotage their future because they allow their imagination to be dominated by their past. They let old failures dictate new visions. They let childhood messages shape adult expectations. They let one mistake become a mental movie they replay over and over until it becomes their identity. To change your financial life, you must change your inner cinema. You must delete old images and install new ones. You must spend time daily imagining yourself living in abundance, walking confidently, receiving with gratitude, growing with courage. This is not daydreaming, it is mental conditioning. Every time you imagine abundance, you strengthen that mental pathway. Every time you visualize wealth, you vibrate at its frequency. Imagination is a spiritual tool, and like any tool, it must be used deliberately. If you leave it idle, fear takes over. If you leave it unmanaged, doubt plants seeds. If you use it consciously, it becomes a force that bends circumstances in your favor. The clearer the image, the faster the manifestation. A vague picture creates vague results. A precise picture creates precise outcomes. Imagine the amount of money you desire. Imagine the freedom it brings. Imagine the emotions, the details, the lifestyle, the peace. The more real it feels inside, the easier it becomes for the outer world to match it. Your imagination is your preview of coming attractions. If you imagine struggle, struggle is on its way. If you imagine increase, increase is on its way. And when your imagination becomes consistent, when you revisit the same inner picture every day, you create momentum. Momentum becomes belief. Belief becomes expectancy. Expectancy becomes manifestation. The key is to imagine as if it is already true, not someday, not maybe, not hopefully, but now. The subconscious responds to the present tense. The universe responds to certainty. When you imagine prosperity as a distant dream, you keep it distant. When you imagine it as your current identity, you pull it into the present moment. This is why athletes visualize victory before they compete. This is why musicians imagine performing before they step on stage. This is why successful people see themselves as successful long before they become successful. Wealth is created twice, first in imagination, then in reality. If you only try to change your outer world without changing your inner picture, nothing will hold. It will slip through your hands, but when the inner picture becomes strong, clear, and unshakable, the outer world has no choice but to align with it. Because imagination is the silent architect, the invisible sculptor, the master creator behind every visible blessing. And the moment you learn to use it consciously, the moment you choose to imagine abundance instead of fear, the moment you dare to picture a life that excites you, money begins to find you, not because you are lucky, but because you are aligned. Every person carries a vibration, an invisible frequency that announces who they are long before they speak a single word. This vibration is not determined by how much money you have, but by how much money you believe you deserve. The energy you emit is the energy that returns to you, and money is one of the most sensitive responders to that energy. It senses fear, it senses doubt, it senses desperation, but it also senses confidence, worthiness, and calm expectation. Money moves toward the vibration that feels stable, certain, and aligned. This is why two people, given the same opportunity, can produce entirely different results. One repels abundance without knowing why. The other attracts it almost effortlessly. The difference is vibrational alignment. You cannot attract something you constantly contradict with your energy. If you say, "I want more money," but deep inside you feel unworthy, guilty, or afraid of receiving it, you create a static, like interference between your desire and your vibration. Money does not flow smoothly toward a conflicted mind. It only flows where it feels welcomed, respected, and expected. You must become a vibrational match to the abundance you seek. Not through pretending, not through forcing, but through inner alignment. Through thinking, feeling, and acting in harmony with the wealth you desire. Your vibration is shaped by what you consistently think, what you allow yourself to feel, and what you believe is possible for you. When you hold thoughts of lack, your vibration sinks. When you dwell on what you don't have, you amplify the energy of not having it. When you rehearse every financial setback, every disappointment, every bill, every fear, your vibration becomes heavy, tired, burdened. This heaviness pushes prosperity away, not because money dislikes you, but because your energy tells it, "There is no space for you here. I expect struggle, not blessings." But when you shift your inner atmosphere, everything begins to change. When you think thoughts of ease, your vibration rises. When you feel gratitude, your heart opens. When you speak abundance, your energy expands. The moment you begin to align your vibration with wealth, through calm expectation, positive focus, and a deep sense of worthiness, you create an energetic invitation for money to enter your life, not forcefully, not chaotically, but naturally. Vibrational alignment does not require pretending you have what you don't. It requires embodying the feelings, attitudes, and beliefs of someone who is already supported by abundance. Ask yourself, how would a wealthy version of me think? How would they speak? How would they carry themselves? How would they respond to challenges? How would they handle opportunities? Then begin to shift your vibration to match that version of you, not tomorrow, not in the distant future, but now. If someone believes they are always unlucky, their vibration will match that belief, and they will unconsciously walk toward experiences that reflect it. If someone believes money is hard to earn, their vibration will mirror that thought, and life will respond with difficulty. But if someone believes abundance is natural, their vibration becomes open, soft, receptive, and life begins to respond with the same generosity. Vibrational alignment means trusting that you are meant to prosper, that you are connected to an endless source, that nothing is too big or too small for you. It means abandoning the old vibration of fear and stepping into the higher vibration of possibility. It means releasing the emotional weight attached to past experiences, because you cannot carry the vibration of yesterday's pain into tomorrow's blessings. Every time you think forward, speak forward, imagine forward, you raise your vibration. Every time you dwell backward, complain, or relive old fears, you lower it. Money is drawn to clarity when your vibration is clear, when your desire and your belief harmonize. Your energy becomes magnetic. People notice you differently. Opportunities recognize you. You become more decisive, more confident, more open to receiving. You speak with strength instead of uncertainty. You act with intention instead of hesitation. You stop questioning whether you deserve prosperity and start preparing for it. Everything begins inside first. When you calm your energy, you open the flow. When you trust the process, you increase the flow. When you celebrate every small sign of abundance, you accelerate the flow. And when you embody the vibration of someone who is already blessed, you become impossible to ignore in the eyes of the universe. Nothing in your outer world can remain unchanged when your inner vibration rises. The same job produces more income. The same ideas lead to bigger results. The same efforts generate greater rewards. The same connections bring unexpected opportunities. Your vibration dictates what shows up in your life, because your vibration is the signal you send into the world. When you walk with the vibration of abundance, money recognizes you. It feels safe with you. It feels welcomed by you. It feels understood by you. You stop chasing money because the energy of chasing is the energy of lack. Instead, money begins moving toward you because the energy of alignment is the energy of attraction. You do not attract what you want, you attract what you are. And when you become the vibration of wealth, wealth becomes your natural companion. It finds you at the right time, in the right place, through the right people, in ways that feel effortless because your energy is no longer resisting it. This is the great secret. You do not pull money in by force. You allow it in by alignment. There comes a moment in every person's life when they must recognize that their greatest blocks are not in the world outside, but in the world within. And the most powerful of these inner blocks is doubt. Doubt stands at the doorway of abundance like a stubborn gatekeeper, whispering the same old lies. What if you fail? What if you're not enough? What if money never comes your way? It is doubt that shrinks the vision, weakens the will, dims the imagination, and cages the soul. But the truth is this: money is drawn to certainty, clarity, and boldness, and it flees from fear the way light destroys shadows. To think in a way that allows money to find you, you must learn to master your doubts, not by fighting them, but by replacing them with conviction so solid that it becomes a magnet for every good thing you seek. Every time doubt rises within you, whether it whispers quietly or screams loudly, it is an invitation to rise higher in your thinking. Doubt is like a test that shows up right before the breakthrough, challenging you to choose faith over fear, power over hesitation, and vision over limitation. Most people let doubt dictate the story. They believe that because they feel unsure, their dream is not meant for them. But doubt is not a stop sign. It is a sign that you are stepping beyond your old identity into something larger. When you dream bigger than your current life, your old beliefs panic. They say, stay small, stay safe. But money, opportunity, and abundance do not live in the land of small thinking. They live in the realm of expanded belief. To master doubt, you must first recognize that doubt is not wisdom, it is not intuition, it is not protection. It is simply the residue of old experiences and old thinking. It is the voice of your past trying to control your future. You must refuse to let it have the final say. When you feel doubt, don't bow to it. Interrogate it. Ask, who assigned you the authority to limit my life? Doubt is built on assumptions, not truth. It feeds on fear, not reality. It grows when you stop questioning it. But the moment you challenge it with bold inner strength, it begins to collapse like a shadow exposed to the sun. When you begin to build a new mindset, one that invites money, success, and expansion, you must become a guardian of your inner world. This means you cannot entertain doubtful thoughts like unwanted guests that take over your home. If a thought does not serve your vision, it must be replaced. Not ignored, not tolerated, replaced. Every moment holds a choice between two frequencies, the frequency of fear and the frequency of power. If you do not choose consciously, fear will choose for you. But if you set an intention each morning that your mind will be aligned with strength, clarity, and expectation, doubt will lose its grip. And here is the great secret. You do not have to eliminate doubt before you move forward. You simply must stop giving it authority. You can take action even when the trembling is still in your chest. You can speak abundance even when your voice shakes. You can walk toward the life you want even when your legs feel uncertain. Bold action weakens doubt, hesitation strengthens it. When you take even the smallest step toward the future you desire, you send a message to your mind that you are in control, not the old stories, not the fear-based thinking, not the patterns of scarcity. You declare with your actions, I am ready for more. Money responds to this internal declaration. Money does not flow to those who are the most fearful, tentative, or doubtful. It flows to those who show the universe, through their thoughts and actions, that they are prepared to receive, prepared to handle, and prepared to expand. When doubt arises and you choose confidence anyway, you align yourself with opportunity. You begin to radiate certainty, and that certainty becomes magnetic. People feel it. Circumstances shift because of it. Doors open where before they were shut. Offers come where once there was silence. This is not coincidence. It is alignment. One of the most powerful ways to dissolve doubt is to retrain your self-talk. Most people talk to themselves in ways they would never speak to someone they love. They shame themselves, belittle their abilities, and remind themselves of failures. But if you want abundance, you must speak to yourself as someone destined for greatness. Replace I don't know if I can with I am fully capable. Replace what if I fail with what if I succeed beyond anything I've imagined. Replace I'm not ready with everything I need is already within me. This internal language becomes the blueprint of your reality. You cannot build a palace with the vocabulary of poverty. Another powerful key is to understand that doubt thrives in isolation but weakens in vision. When your focus is consumed by the fear of what might go wrong, your mind forgets what can go right. But when you fix your inner eye on the future you desire, when you visualize it with detail, emotion, and belief, your mind begins to accept it as a destination rather than a fantasy. Doubt cannot coexist with a vision that is lived, felt, and rehearsed daily. Every time you revisit your vision, you anchor your faith. Every time you declare it aloud, you reinforce your identity. And every time you take action toward it, you weaken the power of fear. There is also a spiritual truth at play. Doubt disconnects you from the flow of abundance, while confidence opens the channel. When you operate from doubt, you are vibrating at scarcity. You are saying to the universe, I do not trust the process. I do not trust myself. I do not trust the possibilities available to me. But when you operate from confidence, even imperfect confidence, you signal that you are aligned with increase. You are saying, I expect good, I prepare for good, I welcome good. This expectation acts like a beacon. Money follows expectation the way rivers follow gravity. It is drawn to belief, not fear. So understand this deeply. Mastering doubt is not about never feeling afraid. It is about choosing which voice you obey. You will hear both, the whisper of fear and the call of faith, but only one leads to abundance, and each day, with each thought, with each decision, you choose which world you belong to. Doubt will appear, but it does not have to remain. Fear will visit, but it does not have to be your master. You can rise above both by aligning your inner world with strength, clarity, and expectation. You can think in a way that makes money find you, because when your mind becomes anchored in conviction, you become a magnet for every form of good. There is a silent law, ancient and unbreakable, that governs the movement of all things: money, opportunities, relationships, even the direction of your own destiny. That law is the law of expectancy. You do not receive what you wish for. You receive what you expect. Expectation is not hope, and it is not mere desire. Expectation is the inner knowing that something is already on its way to you. It is the confident feeling that the outcome is certain long before the evidence appears. And when your expectation is aligned with abundance, money begins to move toward you as naturally as a river flows downhill. But when your expectation is shaped by fear, lack, or worry, you unknowingly push away the very good you seek. To understand the power of expectation, you must see it as the emotional engine behind your thoughts. A thought without expectation is like a seed tossed onto dry ground. It cannot grow. But a thought backed by strong, confident expectation is like a seed planted in rich soil, watered daily with belief. The difference is night and day. Expectation turns thought into magnetism. It gives your vision weight, substance, and direction. It tells the universe, I am ready for this, I am certain of this, I am prepared to receive. And the universe always responds to certainty. Most people sabotage their blessings because they expect very little from life. They hope for good things, but they prepare for disappointment. They dream of prosperity, but deep down they expect struggle. They speak words of abundance, but their true inner language says, I don't know if this will work for me. I don't know if money is meant for me. I don't know if good things last. And because the universe responds not to the surface words, but to the deeper emotion behind them, their outer world reflects their inner uncertainty. Expectation is the atmosphere of your inner world. Just as plants need a certain climate to grow, money needs the climate of confident expectation. When you expect increase, you create openings for increase. Your mind becomes attuned to possibilities, your actions become bolder, your energy becomes magnetic, and the world begins to reorganize itself in ways you cannot yet see. But when you expect lack, you choke your own flow. You become hesitant, fearful, withdrawn, and suspicious of opportunities. You close the doors that abundance might have walked through. There is a reason successful people seem lucky. It is not chance, it is expectation. They assume money will come, they assume opportunities will arise, they assume good things are normal for them. Their inner atmosphere supports their outer success, and because they expect more, they receive more. Meanwhile, those who expect little, even when they desire much, find that life reflects their inner narrative with stubborn accuracy. If you want to reposition yourself so that money can find you easily, you must reprogram your expectation. This does not mean pretending or forcing yourself to feel something fake. It means choosing a higher truth than your past experiences. It means deciding that your future is not bound by what has happened before. It means recognizing that expectation is a choice, not a reaction. You do not have to wait until conditions improve to expect good. Your expectation is what improves the conditions. So how do you build powerful expectation? You begin by feeding your mind with images of the life you want. See yourself living in abundance. See yourself handling money with ease and confidence. See yourself receiving opportunity after opportunity. Visualization is not fantasy, it is rehearsal. It is mental preparation for what you expect to experience. When you visualize often, your mind begins to accept the image as familiar, and the more familiar it feels, the more naturally your expectation grows. Another key to building expectation is deliberate self-talk. Every day, you must remind yourself of the truth you want to embody. Speak words that affirm abundance, not lack. Say, money comes to me easily and consistently. Good things are always on their way. Opportunities show up for me. I expect increase in every area of my life. You may not feel the full weight of these words at first, but repetition creates familiarity, and familiarity creates expectation. You speak yourself into a new reality by choosing your words with intention. Expectation also grows through gratitude. When you give thanks for what you have and what is coming, you signal to the universe that you are aligned with abundance. Gratitude is the emotional bridge between your current reality and your desired reality. It tells life, I already recognize the good that surrounds me, and I am ready for more. Gratitude softens resistance, dissolves worry, and lifts your emotional state into a higher vibrational field. In that elevated state, expectation becomes natural, not forced. But the most important way to strengthen expectation is to act as if the outcome is already assured. When you behave like someone who expects good things, your actions become powerful. You make decisions with clarity instead of hesitation. You invest in yourself instead of holding back. You walk with confidence instead of doubt. You move forward instead of standing still. Action is proof of expectation. When you take aligned steps toward your vision, you demonstrate that you believe in its inevitability. And when you show life that you are serious, life becomes serious about delivering. Sometimes people fear raising their expectation because they think disappointment will hurt more. But disappointment does not come from expecting too much. Disappointment comes from believing that your desire is bigger than your destiny. When you expect abundance boldly, you are not setting yourself up for pain. You are aligning yourself with truth. You are not born to struggle endlessly. You are not designed to live in fear, scarcity, or doubt. You were created to grow, expand, achieve, and thrive. Expectation is simply the remembrance of your rightful place in the flow of good. When you shift your inner expectation, your outer world begins to shift as well. People respond to you differently. Opportunities that once passed you by suddenly notice you. Money that once felt distant begins to move in your direction. You develop an aura of confidence that cannot be faked or forced. It is not arrogance, it is alignment. It is the certainty that you are connected to a limitless source, and that good is always on its way. Expectation is your spiritual signal, your energetic signature, your invitation to abundance. When you expect increase, increase answers. When you expect opportunity, opportunity appears. When you expect struggle, struggle persists. Life mirrors the emotional state you choose most consistently. When you choose expectation of good, you open a clear path for money to find you, flow to you, and stay with you. There is a force within you that shapes every experience, every opportunity, every obstacle, every victory. And that force is your self-image. You cannot rise above the way you see yourself. You cannot receive more than what you believe you deserve. You cannot attract wealth, abundance, or opportunity while holding an inner picture of someone unworthy, incapable, or small. Money does not simply respond to effort. It responds to identity. And if your identity is shaped by old wounds, past failures, or inherited beliefs of limitation, then your outer life will always reflect those internal limitations. To allow money to find you easily, you must elevate the way you see yourself and step into a higher version of your inner identity. Your self-image is not just an idea, it is a magnet. It broadcasts a silent message to the world about what you will accept, what you expect, and what you are ready for. If deep down you believe you are always destined to struggle, struggle will appear. If you believe that wealth is for others, not for you, opportunities will pass your door but not knock. If you believe you are not the type to be successful, your mind will sabotage every attempt to rise. But when you begin to see yourself as someone worthy of abundance, capable of success, deserving of financial ease, you send out a new signal. You begin to attract circumstances that match your elevated inner picture. The world responds differently because your energy, your assumptions, and your behavior all change. Many people underestimate the power of their own identity. They spend their lives trying to fix the outer world while ignoring the inner one. They change jobs, change strategies, change habits, but the results remain the same because the inner identity has not shifted. They are trying to grow new fruit without changing the root. But your life can only expand to the size of the container within you, and that container is your self-image. You cannot expect money to pour into a self-image full of cracks, doubt, and unworthiness. But when you strengthen your identity, you create a vessel capable of holding abundance. Your self-image was formed over years, through experiences, conversations, childhood messages, cultural conditioning, and the interpretations your younger self made about the world. But just because it was formed unconsciously does not mean it must remain unchanged. You have the power to redesign yourself from the inside out. You can choose a new identity that aligns with the abundance you desire. You can craft a mental blueprint of the person you are becoming, and your world will adjust to it. The process begins with awareness. You must look honestly at how you see yourself around money. Do you feel unworthy when you think of wealth? Do you feel guilty at the thought of having more than others? Do you feel small when you imagine success? Do you believe money is hard to keep or that you cannot handle it? These silent beliefs shape your financial destiny far more than any external action. When you identify these old narratives, you begin to loosen their hold. Once you recognize the limiting self-image, you replace it with a higher one. This is not fantasy, it is intentional creation. Ask yourself, who is the version of me that money finds effortlessly? How do they think? How do they speak? How do they walk? How do they make decisions? Imagine this version of yourself clearly. See them living with confidence, clarity, and strength. See them handling money with ease and wisdom. See them attracting opportunities that align with their purpose. This identity must become more familiar than your old one. Visualization is powerful here because the mind cannot distinguish between real experience and vividly imagined experience. When you repeatedly visualize yourself as abundant, confident, and worthy, your mind begins to shift its internal structure. You dissolve old neural pathways and build new ones. Your behavior changes automatically because you are now acting from a new identity. You are not trying to become someone else. You are revealing a version of yourself that has always existed beneath the fear and conditioning. Words also play a profound role. Your self-talk becomes the script from which your identity is written. Every time you declare, I am worthy of wealth, I am capable, I am aligned with abundance, I am confident in my abilities, you rewrite the story of who you believe yourself to be. Even if it feels uncomfortable at first, persist. Identity changes through repetition. If you repeat the old story long enough, you lived it. If you repeat the new one long enough, you become it. Another key to strengthening your identity is aligning your actions with the version of yourself you are becoming. Even small actions can create powerful shifts. If the abundant version of you saves money wisely, start saving even a little. If they invest in their growth, invest in a book, a course, or a skill. If they maintain an organized environment, clean your space. If they walk with confidence, lift your head a little higher. Action cements identity. The more you behave as the higher version of yourself, the more authentic it becomes. This inner transformation is not just psychological, it is vibrational. When you elevate your self-image, your energetic frequency rises. Money is drawn to high frequency states like confidence, clarity, peace, and worthiness. It flows away from low frequency states like fear, shame, self-doubt, and unworthiness. When your self-image is rooted in scarcity, your energy repels abundance. But when your self-image radiates power and self-respect, you become magnetic to wealth. You will notice subtle shifts as this transformation unfolds. You begin to make better decisions, not out of fear, but out of alignment. You stop chasing money and start attracting it. You stop saying yes to things that drain you. You stop undervaluing your gifts. You ask for what you deserve. You trust your ideas. You feel comfortable receiving. And most importantly, you stop apologizing for wanting more. There will be moments when the old identity tries to pull you back. This is normal. A part of you has been familiar with limitation for so long that abundance feels strange at first. But do not mistake discomfort for misalignment. Growth often feels uncomfortable because you are stretching into a new dimension of yourself. When old doubts arise, remind yourself that they belong to a version of you that is fading. The more you honor the new identity, the faster your outer world shifts. Opportunities that once seemed out of reach become available. Money flows in unexpected ways. People treat you differently because you treat yourself differently. You become a person who expects abundance, receives abundance, and lives in abundance. This is not arrogance. It is alignment with truth. Money finds those who see themselves as its rightful partner, not its desperate pursuer. When your self-image is elevated, you no longer chase wealth, you attract it. Your confidence becomes a beacon. Your energy becomes a signal. Your belief becomes a magnet, and your life begins to mirror the greatness you finally allowed yourself to see. There is a sacred truth about money that many spend their entire lives overlooking. Money is never the starting point. It is the result. It is the effect, not the cause. It is the harvest, not the seed. Every dollar that enters your life begins first as a thought, an idea, an intention, a belief, a vibration. Money begins in the unseen before it ever arrives in the physical. And the reason so many feel stuck, lost, or blocked is because they keep trying to solve outer problems while leaving their inner world untouched and chaotic. They tighten budgets, work longer hours, chase opportunity after opportunity, but they never address the one place where wealth is truly born, the inner landscape of their thoughts. Your thoughts are not passive. They are creative. They do not simply float through your mind. They shape the energetic blueprint of your reality. A thought repeated becomes a belief. A belief repeated becomes a pattern. A pattern lived becomes a destiny. When your thoughts are aligned with abundance, opportunity, and confidence, the entire universe bends to support you. But when your thoughts are saturated with fear, worry, distrust, and scarcity, you inadvertently push away the prosperity waiting to reach you. This is why so many people struggle despite their hard work. They plant seeds of fear and expect a harvest of abundance. They water thoughts of lack and pray for financial increase. They imagine danger, loss, failure, and then wonder why these experiences seem to find them so easily. They are unknowingly using their own mental power against themselves. The mind is fertile soil. It grows whatever is planted with emotion, repetition, and belief. It does not judge whether the seed is helpful or harmful. It simply nurtures what you give it. If you want money to find you, if you want opportunities to appear with ease, if you want doors to open that once seemed permanently closed, you must learn to discipline the garden of your mind. You must become intentional about the thoughts you allow to grow. Instead of rehearsing old fears, rehearse success. Instead of imagining worst-case scenarios, imagine best-case outcomes. Instead of expecting struggle, expect ease. Instead of seeing yourself as someone always fighting for scraps, see yourself as someone who naturally draws abundance wherever you go. Transforming your inner world is not about forcing yourself to feel positive all the time. It is about choosing thoughts that align with truth rather than fear. Fear tells you that money is scarce. Truth tells you that abundance is infinite. Fear tells you that you are not worthy of success. Truth tells you that worthiness is your birthright. Fear tells you to expect disappointment. Truth tells you to expect increase. And the more you choose the higher thought, the more your outer world begins to rise to match it. There is a powerful, invisible law at work. Your outer world reflects your inner assumptions. If you assume that money is hard to earn, life will show you struggle. If you assume that opportunities are rare, you will overlook every opening placed before you. If you assume that you must sacrifice joy to survive, your life will mirror that belief. But if you assume that money can come easily, new pathways appear. If you assume that you are supported, life rearranges itself to support you. If you assume that abundance is natural for you, your actions and energy naturally attract it. Your thoughts create your emotional frequency. Your emotional frequency becomes your vibration. Your vibration becomes your magnet. You do not attract what you want. You attract what you are. When your inner world vibrates at fear, confusion, and self-doubt, money hesitates. It pauses at the door. It senses instability. But when your inner world vibrates at clarity, confidence, peace, and expectation, money feels welcomed. It feels safe. It feels invited. One of the greatest misunderstandings people carry is that they must wait for their outer circumstances to improve before they can think differently. But the truth is the opposite. Your circumstances improve because you think differently first. You do not wait for the abundance to arrive. You prepare for it internally. You rehearse it mentally. You embody it emotionally. You speak it verbally. You expect it spiritually. And when your inner world aligns with the frequency of abundance, external conditions cannot help but shift to reflect that alignment. This is why spiritual traditions, ancient teachings, and modern success philosophies all point to the same law. Your thoughts are creative power. They are the architects of the life you build. When you understand this, you stop giving so much energy to outer obstacles. You stop fearing delays. You stop doubting your worth. You stop shrinking yourself to fit old narratives. Instead, you turn inward. You choose thoughts with intention. You design your inner world with care. You plant seeds of wealth, confidence, joy, boldness, and purpose. The transformation does not happen overnight, but each day you feed your mind thoughts of abundance, you adjust your vibration. Each time you reject a thought of fear, you strengthen your inner foundation. Each moment you imagine yourself prospering, you build a new energetic blueprint. And soon, without forcing, without chasing, without struggling, you feel a shift. Your energy becomes lighter, your decisions become clearer, your confidence becomes stronger, your intuition becomes sharper. You begin to notice opportunities that were invisible before. You begin to attract people who align with your goals. You begin to move with a quiet power that others can feel even before you speak. This inner work is not only the foundation of wealth, it is the foundation of peace. When your mind is aligned with abundance, you walk differently. You speak differently. You carry yourself with a sense of calm assurance. You no longer panic over small things. You no longer cling to what is not meant for you. You no longer desperately chase outcomes. You trust, you expect, you flow, and that inner steadiness becomes magnetic. Money flows to clarity, confidence, and alignment. Money flows to the mind that thinks in harmony with possibility. Money flows to the person who has trained their thoughts to rise above circumstances. When you transform your inner world, money does not just find you. It stays with you, grows with you, multiplies through you, because you have become a match for it. There comes a moment in every person's life when they must decide whether they will continue living as a reactor to life or rise as a creator of life. Most people drift through their days responding to circumstances, adjusting themselves to situations, allowing the outer world to dictate their emotions, their decisions, and their direction. They wait for conditions to improve before they allow themselves to feel empowered. They wait for opportunities to appear before they believe in their own potential. They wait for money to show up before they dare to think abundantly. And so they remain in a loop, a cycle where the outer world controls the inner world, and the inner world repeats the outer world in a never-ending circle. The truth is that money does not come to those who wait for perfect conditions. Money comes to those who move with purpose even in imperfect conditions. When you take bold, aligned action toward the life you desire, you send a signal to the universe that you are ready to receive. Action is not simply movement, it is a declaration. It announces your intention. It proves your expectation. It separates desire from commitment. And when your actions match your vision, you become magnetic to the very opportunities you once felt were out of reach. The reason action is so powerful is because it shifts your state from passivity to creation. Passivity says, I hope something changes. Action says, I am the one who brings the change. Passivity waits. Action initiates. Passivity fears failure. Action understands that failure is simply a stepping stone to refinement. When you act boldly, you step into the energy of someone who trusts the path before seeing all the details. You move in faith rather than fear, and this movement ignites momentum. Momentum is the real secret of abundance. A single step taken in faith often opens doors that 10 months of overthinking never will. Many people claim they are waiting for clarity, but clarity often comes after action, not before it. When you take the first step, the next step reveals itself. When you speak your truth, the next conversation arrives. When you start the project, the right resources show up. When you make the decision, life rearranges itself around your boldness. Action generates energy. It shifts your vibration instantly. The moment you step forward, whether it's sending an email, starting a business, applying for an opportunity, raising your prices, setting a boundary, or investing in your growth, you elevate your internal state. You move from stagnation into flow. Fear begins to dissolve. Doubt loses its grip. The universe responds because you are finally moving toward your desire rather than sitting still in hesitation. But not all action is equal. There is forced action that comes from fear and misalignment, trushing, chasing, grasping, hustling from a place of desperation. This kind of action drains you, weakens your energy, and pushes opportunities away. Then there is aligned action rooted in clarity, confidence, and intuition. This kind of action strengthens your energy, expands your possibilities, and draws opportunities in. Aligned action doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it is a quiet decision. Sometimes it is a simple conversation. Sometimes it is a small step, almost invisible to others. But even small steps taken in powerful energy create massive shifts over time. The magic lies not in the size of the action, but in the intention behind it. If the intention is fear, the result will reflect fear. If the intention is confidence, the result will reflect abundance. People often underestimate how deeply action shapes their self-image. Every time you take decisive action, you rewrite the story you hold about yourself. You begin to see yourself as someone capable, powerful, disciplined, and worthy. You reinforce the identity of someone who shows up for their vision. And as your identity strengthens, your attraction power increases. People are drawn to confident energy. Opportunities gravitate towards self-assured individuals. Money follows certainty. This is why aligned action is inseparable from manifestation. You cannot think your way into abundance while behaving like someone who doubts their own power. Thought sets the intention, emotion sets the vibration, but action anchors it into reality. Action is the bridge. Action is the transformation of the unseen into the seen. Action is the point where the spiritual meets the physical. There is a spiritual law that says, move first and the way will be made, not the other way around. Your willingness to act without needing all the answers is what opens the flow of abundance. Most people want guarantees before they begin. They want signs, reassurance, and absolute certainty. But if certainty came before action, there would be no need for faith, and faith is the energetic engine of creation. Every time you delay action, doubt grows stronger. Every time you tell yourself later, resistance builds. Every time you avoid the step you know you're meant to take, you reinforce a self-image of powerlessness. Delay becomes a habit. Hesitation becomes a personality, and opportunities slip away, not because they were not meant for you, but because you did not meet them halfway. You will never feel completely ready. You will never have perfect conditions. You will never have every detail figured out, but you can choose to act anyway. You can decide to trust that taking the first step will reveal the next. You can choose to move even while your voice shakes, and when you do, life begins to accelerate in ways that feel almost miraculous. Action taken with belief multiplies. One aligned step can create a ripple effect that changes everything. You send one message and a new client appears. You post one piece of content and the right person sees it. You invest in one skill and a new opportunity arises. You say yes to something bold and life says yes back. The universe responds to momentum. Your destiny does not shift when you think about change. It shifts when you move toward change. You cannot attract abundance while standing still in old patterns. You cannot call in new outcomes with old behaviors. Action is your declaration to the world that you are no longer available for the life you are leaving behind. You are stepping into something greater. When you act with alignment, money does not feel far. It does not feel impossible. It does not feel mysterious. It feels natural, drawn to you, moving toward you, responding to your energy, because you have become someone who participates in your own expansion rather than waiting for life to hand it to you. Gratitude is one of the most powerful forces in the universe, yet it is so often overlooked. Many people focus on what they lack, measuring life in terms of scarcity and limitation, wondering why money never seems to stay, why opportunities pass, why success feels distant. But the truth is that gratitude is the language of abundance. It is not a polite habit or a fleeting feeling. It is a transformative force that shifts your vibration, recalibrates your energy, and opens the channels through which money, prosperity, and blessings flow naturally. Without gratitude, even the clearest intention, the boldest expectation, and the strongest action can fall short, because the heart that does not recognize what already exists cannot receive more. Gratitude is the fertile soil in which wealth grows. Gratitude works because it aligns your inner world with the natural order of abundance. When you give thanks for what you have, you are telling the universe that you are aware of the good around you, that you recognize support, and that you honor the flow of life. This act of acknowledgement creates